Apologies for the technical frailty, everyone. I think we can then proceed with the presentation. Nick, you can take me to the next slide. So, welcome again, everyone. Just a brief introduction about the forum. As I said, the forum is basically an academic forum, the Afronomicslaw Academic Forum, and we are the Southern Africa wing of the forum. And we launched the Southern African wing last year in 2021. And the forum is basically run by its members. In other words, the students, the early career researchers, and early career practitioners. And for last year's cohort, we had an incredible mix of people from across the 9 countries in Southern Africa, with about 26 universities represented and about 36 members in total for our Southern Africa wing only. So the forum is committed to the professional intellectual growth of everyone. In other words, the members, the regional representatives, and the editors. And we will get to what they are and what these terms actually mean, as my co-leads will then lead you to a presentation on that. And so it is committed to your overall academic professional development to become a better lawyer in explaining and understanding concepts of international economic law, public international law, and all the other intersecting disciplines as well. So the forum then also looks forward to dive to a robust sort of conversation around Afronomicslaw and the aims that it seeks to achieve in and around Southern Africa, as well as Eastern and Western Africa, with an aim to instill a robust culture of dialogue through its programming on issues around international economic law. And with programming, we mean the events that the forum hosts, and you will see now in the next slide with the benefits that are available for members of the forum, what these are in terms of programming and what the forum has to offer you. Nick, you can just take me to the next slide quickly. So again, as I said, in terms of the benefits available for the members, of course, the applicants, you prospective applicants, and members as well. We have what we call key substantive monthly lectures, which normally occur on the first Saturday of every month. And these lectures, in these lectures, we invite leading academics on international economic law. These are your James Kathis, Prof. Ohaya himself, everyone else, leading academics that you can dream of in terms of leading discourses around international economic law as they relate to Africa and the global South. And these are the guys that come in on the first Saturday of every month and do lectures, very informative, and of course, free of charge. We don't charge anything, but you get so much to learn and so much to take away from in terms of your academic professional development as an international economic lawyer. And then we also have what we call, and of course, this is a new concept that you've introduced this year, as we also seek to read ourselves what we call our members presentation. And of course, successful applicants that will become members will do presentations on a monthly basis. And these presentations typically are to present upon a topical issue or theme or foundational influence in terms of theory that shapes your way of approaching academia. For example, you are Thomas Sankarist, so you can talk about his influence upon you and how you approach academia and legal research and the sort. So these are what these presentations are about. And then we also have monthly key skills workshops where we equip you and train you as an academic. In other words, you learn what legal research looks like, you learn what multidisciplinary legal research looks like, you learn how to write properly, you learn the perks of publishing as well as a young academic seeking out to put your name out there and of course solidify yourself in the space of international economic law. And then there's also importantly editorial support available. And so the forum, through its regional editors and the editors of the Afronomicslaw Academic Forum, give you continuous and ongoing editorial support for the pieces that you can publish, and of course the writing symposium pieces that you submit for the conference at the end of the year. Someone is saying, I still cannot hear anything. Is that the same for everyone?
No, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no, we can hear you.
Okay.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So that is what the editorial support means. You're not alone. If you want to publish, we're here for you. We assist you. We help you with peer reviewing, and we help you to publish. So it's an academic forum. So at the heart of an academic forum is, of course, to write and to write and to write. And we offer you the editorial support, as well as ongoing membership as well. That's exciting. So some of the key and leading academics in the space of international economic law, again, your Professor James Kathis, the Prof. Ohayos, the Dr. Egwazo Ecuador, Nadira Bayat, all of these leading people in the space of international economic law, not only academics, also industry players are available at your disposal as a mentor. And there's no better way than now to start off your journey into academia and international economic law with some of these leading minds of international economic law in and around the continent and the global south. So this is, of course, ongoing for 1 year, and you'll be required then to liaise with your mentor at least quarterly per year and see to learn as much as you can from him and learn and draw as much as you can from him to shape you into the person that you desire to become as far as an international economic lawyer in our contemporary discourse looks like. And of course, quite importantly, career support. You are not alone in terms of your quests for postgraduate study opportunities and employment and career opportunities. In fact, we have a lead specifically dedicated to this portfolio of supporting you for your postgraduate quests as well as career opportunities are concerned. So that's type of support you have. We have all weekly emails circulating with a thread of opportunities available for you. And these opportunities basically contain things like scholarship applications and posts and research assistant positions, and also career opportunities in terms of industry and academia as well. So these are the things that we go out there, garner and hunt for you to support you and nurture you to further propel yourself as a professional, and not only in the current place where you are. And of course, lastly, on this slide, quite importantly, is the opportunity to network from really great legal minds. And of course, most of us are young. You can connect with your fellow young Africans, that are like-minded like you and that have the same sort of ambitions like you in the space of international economic law and related disciplines. So as they say, networking is the new currency. You don't want to miss that. Networking through the forum over the past year has opened up incredible new opportunities for me personally. And that's not something I'm saying just to hook you, but it's a fact. And that's the type of benefits that you can also share in with. Nick, if you can take me to my next slide. Okay, of course, then this is where membership into the forum comes in, and then my co-lead, Nicholas Soekoe, will then lead you and guide you through this based upon what I've said and how you can then join in and become part of this brilliant team. Thank you so much, everyone.
Sure, thank you so much, Wayne. So just to summarize a bit of what Wayne had said, what we were trying to do with this forum, starting East Africa, expanded to Southern Africa, and now it's in West Africa, is we realize that the world of international economic law, whether practice or academia, is, and just checking you can all hear me. You can hear me? Okay. The world of international economic law is dominated by actors in the US, in Europe, and many young people on the continent find that if they want to participate and shape it, they have to go to those places or be based at a university or an institution in one of those places. Meanwhile, it's very much the global south that feels the impact of a skewed international economic law, of tax rules or natural resource legislation, or a debt, a sovereign debt, all those systems that really benefit those in the global south. But the way to have an impact, or the only way to have an impact, often seems like you have to go to the global north. And so what we're trying to do, and what would really be up to you all if you applied to join us and in the second year, is to say, what type of program and community could try change that? What do we need? And so Wayne's gone in thoroughly into some of the things that we think we need to really propel our members to positions of importance, but also to be able to have an impact, even without having to be based in other institutions. So just speaking about membership, what it actually means, it's a 1-year commitment and it's voluntary. And the key considerations that you have to take into account when considering if you want to apply, but also what we will take into account when assessing your applications, is it demonstrates an interest in international economic law and public international law. And of course, we understand that different universities on the continent have different levels of exposure to that. So if you're at a university where you haven't had the opportunity to study many of these courses, that's okay, as long as you can show that you're interested in some aspect of this, whether it's law and development, whether it's whether it's trade law, tax law, or economic policy, or human rights and corporate actors, some aspect of international economic law. We'll also look at an interest in academic research and writing, because we know that that is essential for having an impact, not only for academics, but also for any policymaker and any litigator. Leadership potential, because as we say, we want this to be in some ways a visionary space. We want people who have finished a year and who have become alumni to be able to say in 20 years, one huge impact on my thought was being a member of Afronomicslaw Academic Forum. We want there to be a distinction to membership. And then also time availability. So we are having activities quite regularly, probably 3 out of every 4 weeks of a month, we'll have something going on. And we have writing tasks. We'll ask you to meet with your mentor once in a while. So there are things that you will be expected to do for the year. Okay, there are 2 types of membership, 2 categories of member. The first is regional representative, and that's what most members joining the forum will be. And a regional representative is someone who participates in the majority in all of our programming. The second type of membership, what my colleague Leezola will speak about, is a regional editor who comes in with a little bit more experience, and so really also participates in everything, but is focusing on providing editorial support to everyone else. So the regional representatives, which most of us will be, you need to be from a Southern African country, and we think of that broadly, both in terms of including as many countries as we can, but also as many people as we can. So if you have a unique story, one of our star members from this year is Angolan, Brazilian, that's fine. We're not trying to be exclusive in terms of who qualifies. You must either be a law student, undergrad or graduate, early career researcher or early career practitioner. And you must have an interest in international economic law as it relates to Africa and the global south. And we really do ground all our activity in this perspective from where we are in the global south, from our countries, from our communities, and that needs to be important to you. And then in order to obtain a certificate at the end of the year, there are some requirements. So you would need to attend 2/3 of our events, 2 of every 3, participate in an annual writing symposium, which we'll have a theme, we'll have to write a short paper, and we'll have ongoing editorial support for that, and it'll culminate in us actually presenting our research at a conference. Deliver 1 informal presentation just to your peers about the theory and the concepts and underpinning your work. And that's really to encourage us to be thinking critically about our work. Meet with your mentor once every quarter, which my colleagues will tell you, really hasn't been a problem for most of us, because really, I mean, outstanding people have agreed to mentor our members. And then to serve as a moderator to one of our guest lectures, or to just write a short reflection piece on a lecture. And so you'll see it's just about ensuring engagement for this year. We do have a high amount of people who apply, and we want to make sure that those who are accepted really get the most out of the year. And so I'm going to hand over to Leezola.
Thank you, Nick. Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and excited to see the interest, and also just see all of you introducing yourself in the chat box. It's lovely. So I am Leezola Zongwe, and I joined the forum last year as a regional editor, and I'm continuing on in the second year as a mentorship lead on the forum's board. So yeah, I'm gonna just tell you what would be required from the regional editors. And since I was a regional editor last year, I'll try to explain best what would also be expected from you and what you can expect as an editor. So the eligibility criteria, again, is that you must be from a Southern African country. As Nick said, we're really not trying to exclude anyone. So, you know, interpret Southern African country as broadly as possible. Be an advanced PhD student, a doctoral holder, early to mid-career researcher, have been published in at least one peer-reviewed academic journal. And on this, I'll just add a little caveat, because I myself know how academic publishing can be just, you know, this excruciating process. Again, interpret that as having been accepted to publish, because by the time I had applied for an editor, a piece of mine had been accepted to be published in a book, a peer-reviewed book. As I'm talking to you today, that book has not been published yet. The contract has been signed, everything has happened, but the actual physical book has not been published. So just, you know, we understand academic publishing, it's a long process. So just, yeah, interpret published in at least one peer-reviewed academic journal, also interpreted broadly. And of course, you must have an interest in international economic law as it relates to Africa and the Global South. And yeah, that's just because that is I want to say the bedrock of Afronomicslaw, the organization in general. So yeah, that interest is a pretty key. And when we say interest in international economic law, it can be any field related to international economic law. So whether it's international tax, trade, investment, etc. Just, yeah, interpret that as any field related to international economic law as well. Can I get the next slide? Yeah, so in order to receive the certificate at the end of your term, as a regional editor, you should have attended at least 50% of the events of the forum. And I think Wayne mentioned the events. It would be one skills lecture a month, one substantive lecture a month, and then there'll be a third event a month, sort of like a peer session a month. So out of those, you know, and the lectures are typically on a Friday, on a Saturday, and they're about an hour to 2 hours long on a Saturday morning usually, or early afternoon. So when you think of, oh, you know, lectures, don't think of it as this excruciating, like I'll be sitting in a lecture thing. It's literally like 1 to 2 hours, and it's incredibly engaging. Again, as Wayne said, from like the creme de la creme of international economic law in terms of practitioners and academics. Another requirement for the certificate would be editorial support for 2 regional reps. Of course, it says in the name, regional editor. So this would be when the annual symposium of the forum happens. And this is, I think, towards the end of the last 6 months of the forum's year. So again, it wouldn't be something that you would be, it's very flexible in terms of time commitments. That's what I'm trying to communicate. You would have to peer review 4 short symposium papers, meet your mentor once every quarter. So even the editors, although they're
watching, I say you're busy, no problem. I'm watching.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Mohammed, you are unmuted. Could you mute yourself, please? Yes. Okay. So yeah, even the editors are assigned mentors, and you'd have to meet your mentor once every quarter. The mentors are great people. This is not a chore at all, trust me. And then finally, offer editorial support and guidance on ad hoc projects. Okay, I think Wayne would take it further from here.
Okay, so I welcome myself back, everyone. Okay, so in terms of the application process, and we are closing up, we promised it is going to be a short information session. But again, this is, of course, for you, the audience, the most important part, the information session, which is today. And you can obviously relay whatever you pick up from here to your mates that may be interested in applying. And then the deadline for the applications is the 10th of June at midnight, 00:00 hours, if I said it correctly. And then, of course, your required documentation for submission, you have to submit a statement of interest, everyone, and that should not exceed the limit of 500 words. And in that statement, you have to set out what you are applying for in terms of the positioning. In other words, are you applying to be a regional representative, or are you applying to be a regional editor? And I hope the difference and the distinction between the two is clear. And of course, it should be clear if you can just read your call for applications again and acquaint yourself with the requirements in respect of each. And also, make sure that you also indicate why you think you meet the eligibility criteria in terms of your statement of interest. So you have to motivate why, but do not exceed 500 words. As Nicola also said, we receive a load of applications. In other words, you want to be as short and concise as possible. You want to put your best foot forward in 500 words. And then you also need to submit a CV. And in your CV, you have to include 2 academic referees, I think preferably academic referees. And then, of course, your CV should not exceed 3 pages. And for the shortlisted candidates, we will contact your referees, and then we will hear what they have to say. And of course, we trust they will have good things to say, as always. And then you also need to submit a short paragraph which indicates your primary subject areas of interest, as well as your preferred area of practice. And with the primary subject areas of interest, again, as Leezola also said, international economic law is broad. So you want to indicate to us, is it international tax law that you are focusing upon? Is it investment law that you are focusing upon? Are you attracted to conversations around sovereign debt? Are you attracted to things and themes around natural resources law? Are you attracted to how national law interplays with international economic law? So whatever within the domain of international economic law, and you can also obviously take the interdisciplinary approach. We are very much open to that. In fact, that's where we are heading to. And of course, again, indicate your preferred area of practice. Is it law and policy? Is it academia? Are you excited for industry work? And what is it that you are gravitating towards? And that, of course, is to aid us in terms of recruitment and when we allocate mentors to you upon successful application. So Nick, I think this brings us to the end. If you can take us to slide number last, which will open up the floor for questions and answers that you may have for us.
Thank you so much, Wayne. I just wanted to come in on your last point briefly while we wait for everyone to put your hands up. Please put your hands up if you have questions. It's that last point that Wayne made. There's no right or wrong answer. We're not looking for someone who's interested in this. And if you're really interested in international economic law, but you don't know exactly where, that's okay too. So that last paragraph, it's not a test. We're not seeing if you can mention a specific provision in a specific agreement. We're just trying to gauge the interest so that we can pair you with a great mentor. And this is a space where you will learn more. Yeah. So, and then in terms of questions, if possible, put up your hand and ask them. If you're unable to, then you're welcome to put them in the chat. And when I believe you will be calling on people.
All right, Kedibone, you can go first, and then Sonia as well. We can take 2 questions at a time, Kedibone and Sonia. Thank you.
Hi guys, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. My name is Kidiboni. From South Africa. I am a Master's of Law in International Trade and Investment Law in Africa from the University of Pretoria. I am very happy to be here, and I hope, I'm crossing my fingers to be shortlisted to join this incredible organization. I just wanted to find out, in terms of the regional representatives, for someone who is, because I understand with regional editors, you mentioned that the person should be early PhD or something like that. So I'm looking to start my PhD next year. So I wanted to find out if that would be considered as me not qualifying for a regional representative, but instead an editor.
Thank you, Kedibone. Sonia, you can go ahead. We have heard your question, Kedibone.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Sonia Mabaso, and I'm a first-year LLB student at the University of Wits. I just wanted to ask about the CV. I didn't hear you properly. Thank you.
Sonia, if I can just ask you, are you asking about the CV generally or something in particular?
Something that you said.
What about it? What do you remember what I said? Or
I didn't hear it properly, hence I'm asking.
okay, so you want us to clarify again on the CV?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. Nick, I think you can take Kedibone's question, and then Leezola can help Sonia, and then we can then move on to the next 2 questions.
Sure. So Leezola may want to come in also on Kedibone's question. So as we said, the distinction really between the regional editors and regional representative depends a lot on your experience, but also what you need at this time. So if you are someone who needs in-depth engagement with the subject matter, like Wayne and myself were last year, we wanted to, we needed to learn a lot about these unique parts of international economic law. A regional representative is better suited for you. And even if you applied to be a regional editor, we may actually offer you the position of a regional representative because that may be better suited for you. The regional editor role is for people who already have quite advanced subject knowledge. They still want to be part of this community, but they could almost, in their speciality, they may be able to do the lectures. So they know their work and they have skills to offer in terms of getting the reps to the next level of publishing, of exposure. And so it's not so much a strict thing of which year you're in, as opposed to at what stage are you in your academic growth and your personal growth, and how can we work, how can we both be benefit from the position? Leezola, is that a good characterization?
Yeah, I think you captured it very well, Nick. So Kedibone, when I'm currently in my second year of my PhD, and so when I joined last year as an editor, I was obviously in my first year, but remember there's other requirements as well. So there's, you know, having published, and as Nick said, an interest in like deep knowledge about the area of international law or about a specific branch of international law. So by the time I applied, I, you know, worked in a central bank, and I had been lecturing for 2 years. And so they, you know, those are things that it's not just, yeah, that's just, those are things that added to, obviously, to me, you know, having knowledge around the specific areas that I was interested in, or that I am interested in. And so those are things that will be taken into consideration. It's not necessarily that each of the requirements needs to be met very strictly. It's that all of the requirements are looked at holistically. And then also, of course, you know, we look at all of the applications, and then we see at, you know, how from each applicant, because each person will bring their own piece of knowledge and expertise. One thing that I just thought of, and which I didn't mention under the duties that the editors will be responsible for, which I think is something important to mention, is that editors will be leading the skills workshops that the forum will have monthly. So every month, one editor will offer a skills workshop to the representatives of the forum. So we have substantive lectures, and those are offered by leading academics and practitioners of international economic law. And then we have the skills workshop as well that I mentioned, but I just didn't mention that the editors are the ones giving these workshops. So the editor also needs to be, I almost want to say, in possession of a skill, and be so conversant in that skill that they are able to teach the skill to others. So teach the regional representatives how to do academic writing, how to do conference presentations, how to write thesis proposals, how to do research, you know, basically a number of skills that one needs to have. And then I'll move on to Sonia's question about the CV. I'm not exactly sure what Sonia wanted to know about the CV. Maybe Nick can just add on if I miss anything. But so you will have to submit a CV when you apply, as you would apply for any position. And in your CV, all your general information would have to appear, as well as information relating specifically to your interest in the forum, and also just what you would, just in the CV, just convey what you would gain from the forum, and also what you offer or what you have to, you know, to share. And yeah, that's it. I don't know if Nick has something to add to this.
Just the requirement that the CV, in your CV, if you can list 2 references, we'll only contact shortlisted people's references. So you don't have to worry, we will tell you if you're shortlisted. And so if you can let people know, okay, I've been shortlisted, these people are going to contact you. Yeah, but if you can list just 2 references, it can be from work or from academia. And then one last point, and I want to hand over to Wayne so you can get more questions, but on the distinction between what to apply for, regional editor or regional representative, don't worry too much, because we will do our own assessment of where you fit best. What you need to be asking yourself is, am I super interested in international economic law and its impact on Africa, on my community, on the global South? Do I want to be part of this conversation, of this network, participating in these writing symposiums, attending these lectures? And could I grow from this opportunity and apply? See where you think you fit best, but don't worry too much about making sure you're applying for the right one, because we can also determine that.
Thanks a lot, Nick. The next two questions is Sibusize and Andile, but before that, I also noticed there's a question on the chat box. Somebody is asking about the application process. I think the call for applications, if you have that document, is quite clear. And if you do not have the document, also let us know in the chat box so that we can take down your details and send it to you, and then you can also circulate it in your community. All right, so next two questions is Sibusize and Andile. Sibusize first, and then we will take Andile.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Evening, yes, we can.
My name is Sibusize CB. I'm a BA. I'm a second-year law student at Wits University. So my question is basically about the academic aspects. Do you guys have certain requirements on the academic side? Do you guys need people who are doing certain modules in their degrees? And also, how many people are you kind of looking for in terms of like the competition? We want to kind of know that, yeah.
Thank you, Sibusize. Andile, you can go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andy. I'd just like to start off by thanking the host of the session. Thank you so much for your time and also bringing this wonderful initiative to us. My question relates to the specific mentors that we would be allocated to depending on which area you are interested in. So, you know, for example, whether you want to be in legal practice as an attorney, an advocate, or you want to be an academic, if you have interests in all of those, not that you're not now going to pursue all of them at the same time, you can't be an attorney and advocate at the same time, right? But if you just have interest in all of those, really, how would that work? How would that work in terms of the allocation? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. All right, does Nick and Leezola want to come in at this point? Or can I respond to one of the questions?
Go ahead.
I think,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that Leezola?
Yeah, no, I was saying, I think I can just, on the first question, just simply say that, of course, since you need to have an interest in international economic law or a field related to it, it would be ideal if you had some sort of interaction with a module related to international economic law at some stage in your academic. And again, this can be tax law, investment law, regional integration, like some module related to regional integration, or investment law, natural resources law. And it doesn't necessarily have to be law. I'm saying law because I am a lawyer, but it can literally be whether it's in international relations or politics, or as long as you've had some academic underpinning that would relate to international economic law, that would be great for you also as you're joining because then you already have some sort of foundation. But I would still say I'm not discouraging anyone from applying. So I would still say, even if you just have an interest and you haven't had necessarily interaction with any of these courses or modules academically, I would encourage you 100% to still apply, because this might be the point where you get that interaction with international economic law.
Can I come in on that? Just to emphasize that another thing we're trying to do in the forum is emphasize that it's a problem that international economic law isn't taught enough on universities across the continent. And so when I joined, I also went to Wits University, and in my final year of my LLB, they dropped the trade law class, international trade law class. So I also hadn't done it, but I had this interest. So definitely, and also the fact that, we may be studying human rights or development or politics or policy at home, all of those issues are international economic law issues. International economic law impacts those so much, and we want to ensure that those connections are made. And so if you can demonstrate your interest in another way, then that's fine. It's just about demonstrating your interest and commitment to learn as well. I'll quickly pick up on, I think it was Ndila's question, or someone asked about mentorship and what do you do if you have such a broad interest. That's me. But really, it's for you to decide, what are you looking for in the next 5 years? So are you looking for, okay, I've got this like weird academic interest, I actually want to put it into practice? Or are you saying, I want to get my master's, I want to publish a few papers? So what do you need mentorship in? And that's, you're not going to be tied down to this. You're not going to be known as like the policy person. It's just for what could you use some input in? And if you have a lot of great academic mentors, but you're interested in becoming an attorney, maybe you want, an incredible attorney at a firm that does like international investment arbitration and who can bring you into that world. Are there questions we're missing, Wayne?
Thank you so much, Nicole. You answered my question. Sorry, Nicola. Sorry. Thank you so much. You answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Andile. I think the next question is Gwen. Thank you, Gwen. You can come through. Gwen and then Dorcas.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to ask a question relating to, I suppose, just a summary of what this forum actually is, because yes, I am interested in the topic of international law, but I don't know, I'm not necessarily planning to do a master's or anything. What exactly, I don't know, like what exactly would someone like me be applying for? And I know it's a weird question because it's like, what am I applying for? I guess I'm just interested, but what would be the reasons that someone like me, as just a final year student who's just interested in the topic, what would I necessarily be benefiting from? And what, if we could summarize, what is the forum all about?
Thank you for that, Gwen. The next one is Dorcas. But Dorcas, I don't see you anymore. But Dorcas, you can come through.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. I'm Dorcas and I'm from Mozambique. Sorry, I had some difficult to hear some things, but my question that the CV must be, I understand that the statement of interest must be in English. The CV must be also in English.
Dorcas, thank you for that. Is that your only question? Okay, I guess so. All right, thank you. I think I can address the first question. Gwen, so the forum, as I was saying in the beginning, is an academic forum, right? And I want to lean towards what Nicola was saying after I came in. And basically, the current prevailing international economic order is dictated by the West. And with that comes policy formulations as well. And also with that comes academic voices as well. In other words, we as Africans need to take initiative to get into the space of international economic law and voice ourselves out there as well in a space and in a discourse that is very Eurocentric, right? So a practical example is, for example, international tax rules and sovereign debt issues are crises that African countries all across Africa face. And so you want to contribute towards an ongoing crisis from this kind of perspective. And basically, this is where we come from. In other words, to create a culture where we instill interest in international economic law and to instill academic activism, if I can put it that way, and also scholarly works in the space of international economic law, so that we can also have our foot in policy formulations and in the lawmaking of international economic law in the global order. So that is the space we come from, and that is the angle we come from. So if you, obviously, as you said, as a final year law student, that's not yet made up, you don't know what to pursue. I mean, and I like what Nico Leezola was saying. This is a good platform to get into and see what you will actually like, because I'm pretty sure there's one or two themes that you will like. There's one or two lectures at the minimum that are going to spike something in you, and that are going to spike something in you to an extent that you will be moved to do something about the prevailing economic order. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense. I have done public international law, and so I do know that I do have an interest in just the topics. I guess I have another question, which is, when does the program start?
After the applications close and after everyone is admitted, in other words, from July onwards.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Nick, the second question was with regards to the CV. Maybe you will want to jump in there.
Sure. So the CV does need to be in English. Now, we are very aware that many of some Southern African countries, Portuguese is the dominant language. And so we have had members from Mozambique before. What we did is, of course, they participated in everything, but we did put particular attention when we were doing the editorial support to ensure that they also get that support in terms of writing in English, because it is an important skill. There is a good possibility that we will have an editor who is Portuguese speaking, maybe we'll have one who is French speaking or other languages. And so we may be able to offer that support. But at the moment, our outputs, starting all the way from the CV, but leading also to what we write, is in English. And it doesn't mean that our conversation must be, but that's kind of how we work with our members from across the continent. So if you can put your CV in English, but we also will take into account that it's not your first language.
Thank you so much, Nicola. And then I think we will take the next two questions. Andile and Kadibone, maybe you can just put down your hands. The next person then is Liberty. Liberty, and just a minute.
Hello,
Liberty
guys.
and Moabe.
Hi, guys. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can, Liberty.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my question is a very short one. I want to ask on whether you've got a ceiling on the number of participants that you're recruiting, especially on the regional representatives. And if you've got a quota system, like is it we've got so many SADC countries involved, are you going to take a certain number from each country, or it's just how are you going to do it? Thank you.
Thank you, Liberty. The next question is Mwabe.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mwape and I'm from Zambia. So I wanted to find out, because I'm a bit in the dark, what exactly is this program about? Is it like a fellowship, a scholarship, or just trying to help us grow in our careers, like an association trying to help us grow in our careers? And do we get to meet at a central point afterwards? Yeah, so I just wanted to be briefed up on that. I joined in quite late, so perhaps I might have missed out the introductory part.
Thank you, Mwabe. Maybe we can take Muhammad as well, and then we can get to the answers. Muhammad, you can come in.
Hi, hello. I'm going to just apologize for the noise. I'm on the road at the moment. I just wanted to find out with regards to your academic referees, what do you expect from the academic referees? Like, unfortunately, due to COVID and that, I haven't had the opportunity to actually, go out and do vacation work or actually delve into my interest with regards to international trade law. So I've only worked like retail summer jobs, I'm only 22 at the moment. So I wanted to find out with regards to that, like, what do you expect? Is it like, I don't really have academic referees. Is it fine if I put down referees for my retail job, etc., etc.? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muhammad. And thank you everyone for asking. Leezola, maybe you can come in first.
Okay, so I'll just from the start at the back end and then let Mohammed know that so academic referees refer to lecturers of yours. If you've done a dissertation, maybe your supervisor, basically referees in the area of your academics. And if you have one academic referee and your other referees from a job that you've had, that's also fine. But yeah, at least one must be an academic referee because this is, an academic forum. So just, yeah, but you can, if you have one academic and one non-academic, that's also, yeah, that's fine. And I've lost train of my thoughts now. What was the other question? If someone can remind me, please.
Leezola, the second question was in relation to what the forum does or what it is. But I think it's just really almost a repetition of what Wayne said. I think you can take that one.
Okay. Yeah. I think Wayne already encapsulated very well what the forum is, but I will just say, because I remember now that it's not a scholarship. It's, I think the third, because I think you asked, is it a scholarship, a fellowship, or is it just an organization that's trying to help young law students, law graduate, early career researchers better themselves and gain more experience and exposure in the field of international economic law. And so number 3 is correct. That is exactly what this is. I would encourage you, if you are perhaps just lost a bit, to just Google Afronomicslaw.org. Just look up the organization, look up what it does on the continent. You can look at who the main board members are, and just to familiarize yourself with the type of people that you will get to engage with and get to learn from. Afronomicslaw is on the continent, and I think even in the, well, yeah, it's the biggest organization in terms of international economic law focusing on Africa. So it's just Google it and look it up, and just to gain some insight on, what you can gain from this. And then the last question was on how many people are we going to accept? And so there's not really a set amount at this time. We are looking at the number of applications received, the type of applications received, the interest, it can vary. So yeah, that's why we haven't really touched on that, because it depends on, just the number of applicants, the representation that we get from Southern Africa. So how many applicants from each country? We look at the capacity of how many editors are we getting, and so it varies. And I see Nick is gonna add to that.
Yeah, just because I had the difficult job of being part of the selection committee last year. What we do want to do is we want this to be a year where people are really pumped with as much support and support, time, information as possible. And so that means to make a quality program, we do have to keep it small. And so we want to keep it, basically we are going to have to accept significantly fewer applications than we receive. But in terms of quotas, we don't have quotas. We are all of the opinion that a more diverse group leads to richer thought and richer conversation. And that's not only in terms of country representation, it's also in terms of which universities, not only like necessarily the biggest university in the country, also definitely results to gender parity and any other type of kind of identity difference that exists in your country. And so that's just on the basic principle that that's going to make a richer conversation and a richer group. But just to say, no specific quotas. And then I just wanted to quickly say one thing Mwape had asked in terms of, are we going to meet in person? So this first year, it was also COVID, but we were just starting out. So our conference was completely virtual. We're hoping that maybe it'll be hybrid this year. It all depends kind of on funding things. But what I will say is that many of the members do end up meeting. We do become quite a tight-knit community, and whether we're studying wherever abroad or in each other's countries, there is kind of there are sustained relationships. And then lastly, just to Mohammed, of course, we're not going to ask a lot from your referees. And also, ideally, it would be someone who knows you. So even if it happens to be, a tutor, if you can't get a lecturer, that's fine. And then if one of your referees is from your retail job, as long as they can comment on your work ethic and your commitment, that'll be useful.
Thank you so much, Nicola, Bakiso, and Leezola. I think Kedibone has a question again, and I think I also saw Sibusiso and Mohammed again. If you have a question again, Kedibone, you may proceed.
Okay, yes, I do have another question, and this is with regards to the allocation of mentors for regional representatives. I just wanted to find out. I understand that this is a SADC region thing, but I wanted to find out if do we also form relations with other regions, like in West Africa, that is outside of SADC, and if not, what is the way of trying to we're doing this for SADC, but how do we then form relations with our other African counterparts in other regions within this organization?
I think I can take that quickly, and then I don't know if anyone else wants to hop on. But the answer to that is, and this is also my personal experience in the first year, mentors. I got a mentor who was based in the UK. I think she was half Moroccan and French, so that's the African connection there. And she was based in, as I said, university in the UK, and this was just shortly after I graduated I got my doctorate, and she is a professor, and she was excellent in directing me in terms of postdoctoral opportunities, which was very fundamental to even what I'm doing right now. So the connection, that's the power of Afronomics, and that's the whole point, is to provide opportunities and perspectives which are bigger than the bubble that you're currently in. So even if you ask yourself why as a regional rep, or whether you should get involved in what's the whole point of this Afronomics exercise, it's to expose you to what other international lawyers are doing, Africans in the developed countries and the rest of Africa. So that's the answer. I think, Nick, you can help, but I'm sure in the event that you do get assigned someone who is in your country and you don't feel comfortable with that, or you'd like something, or someone else in a different jurisdiction, I'm sure you can request to be reallocated. You can help me there.
I will come in, but perhaps Germany should just come in first.
Thanks, Nick. My name is Domini. I'm basically the lead for speakers. So I want to reiterate what Bakiso was saying just now, that in terms of mentors, I think that's where the advantage is. For example, in my experience, mine came from Kenya, although he is also the executive director of Afrodat, right? So the diversity of the mentors that you typically get to have is not only limited to Southern Africa. They're just spread wide and across. So that makes it quite a little bit more interesting as well, because you get exposed to different perspectives and different career paths as well, because they do not only advise only on careers, always a diverse aspects, depending on your needs as well. So it's one of those worthwhile experiences that I think, for those guys that are gonna make it, should definitely look forward to.
And then just briefly, and I know that we have to wrap up soon, but so that's the mentorship. But obviously there are members of the academic forum in West Africa and in East Africa, and there's some other regions potentially going to open up wings of the forum. So we're one forum. It's just that obviously for operation purposes, we do things a bit differently, but many of our things we do in conjunction. So our annual writing symposium and conference, we do across all regions. Our lectures are attended from across all regions. And so you're going to get to know people from across the regions, and yeah, our members from all over the continent.